It's Friday, and that means that we get to welcome political guru Chuck Todd live in the studio with us this morning over the phone. Chuck, nice to have you here. I don't know, is there anything big going on that we should be talking
bored.
about? I mean, it's
we
bored.
always have 2 weeks.
Yeah,
We have 2 weeks to ponder it.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time.
So let's go ahead and start there, shall we? As President Trump is giving himself a 2-week deadline now to decide if the U.S. takes action against Iran. A lot of fears of getting pulled into war. Is that really, do you think, where we're at if Iran doesn't come to some kind of agreement here?
Well, look, I think some of this may be, look, there's some reporting, and I have heard from some that back it up that, President Trump's not 100% convinced that our bunker buster bombs are going to work, right? It's not 100% chance. And what's the down, if you tiptoe into this, you do it, and it doesn't work, right? Then that's, where does that go from there? So look, he's been jammed by Netanyahu on this. And any American president, sometimes we look at things and we think, oh, only Trump. I think we would have been in a nearly identical situation no matter who was president in this case, because I think the Israelis, this is an existential threat for them. It's not for us. So it is this. It's not an easy decision, and I think he is hoping that the Iranians buckle here. And the fact of the here's the problem, and this is why it's such a dilemma for him. There's never going to be strategically a better opportunity to take out these nuclear facilities than right at the moment, right? Israel is weak in the air defenses, and all of those things are true. But a miss here is catastrophic, right? So it's not an easy decision, and I think it is a reasonable thing to see if the Iranian regime buckles. And just says, you know what, the only way we can preserve our ability to stay in power is to take the nukes off the table.
Political analyst Chuck Todd with us here. The Chuck Todd, let's try that again. TheChuckToddcast.com. If you could backtrack us this for a little bit, because we started off with October 6th, Israel going after Gaza, going after the Palestinians, going after Hamas. And, now here we are with Israel and Iran. How did we get here?
Well, look, it is October 7th, and, the Israelis no longer – look, taking out Hezbollah, not having Hezbollah there for the Iranians is a big deal. The fact is October 7th was a strategic disaster for the Iranians because essentially the Israelis said, you know what, we are not going to let the United States hold us back anymore on this stuff, which is what has always been the case. They've always been deferential. They're not being deferential on this front, understandably so, right? They were attacked on their homeland like this. But in the last 2 years, taking out Hamas, taking out Hezbollah, getting the Houthis, another Iranian proxy that's really more of a menace to Yemen and Saudi Arabia, but getting them to back off, right? The United States earlier this year did a little bit of attacking of them. And all of a sudden, Iran is exposed. So I do think the Israelis, this is all about October 7th and having a much different, clear focus on this. But there's also domestic political pressure on Netanyahu. Last weekend, right before the attack on Iran, he was 24 hours away from a no-confidence vote in the Knesset, and he might have lost his coalition. And the ones that were the angriest were the ones furthest to the right on his coalition who wanted an attack on Iran ASAP. So, so there is domestic political pressure that is also impacting Bibi's decision-making on this.
Now, when we're talking also about, other world powers and where the world is right now, not to be outdone, we see North Korea goes ahead and launches itself into the headlines this morning, launching more than a dozen rockets, banned by the UN from using ballistics, right? So what?
This is such a North Korean move. They're like, hey,
what is this? Is this just them prepping for what's happening or saying, like, don't put baby in a corner, we're still here?
You can't help but wonder if it's sometimes an attention-seeking thing, because every time the world is dealing with another issue is usually when they're most likely to pop up. There's also a new South Korean government where they're trying to sort of test the electric fence over there, literally and figuratively, with the new South Korean government here. But Look, I think they know that, and I think they see that if Trump is willing to negotiate a nuclear future for Iran, even if it's civilian, then that's good for them. And we know that Trump has always been enamored with the North Korean leader for whatever reason and is likely to sit down and talk there. So I think a little bit of this is, hey, pay attention to us. We want to have this conversation. We want to have this one-on-one. But I also think they do see their future connected to how the United States resolves Iran here. Because if we do take it out, that would likely
statement.
signal to North Korea exactly that we're not going to tolerate your nuclear program either.
Free-range political analyst Chuck Todd, thechucktoddcast.com, live on KTAR this morning. We always appreciate your time and your insight. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Morning News. Click to watch more from KTAR News and hit the button in the middle to subscribe.